bear in mind that some hard questions never will, and really never should, disappear. But for now, we can happily return to simple matters. The uncomplicated love and admiration of you, the graduates, by your families and friends, and by your university. You have graced this institution by your presence. You have taken your place in the succession of enormously talented individuals. You have the capacities to guide us through the great issues of our time. May you also have the wisdom to live well with the human dilemmas.
Even amuse, confound, and astonish us in the near future, and who have, thankfully, completed the requirements prescribed by that faculty for the degree of Master of Fine Arts.
Yeah, that's good.
Beg and beseech you, sir, to grant them these degrees along with the rights and privileges thereto attached.
Mr. President,
Pressures, gatekeepers, the needy, the grateful, the therapized, the unconscious, the helpful, the lazy, the overachievers, the underfed, the middle of the roaders, the immigrants, the migrants, the late, the early, the formerly, students, faculty, and distinguished guests, welcome. I am Bruce W. Ferguson, the always proud Dean of Columbia University School of the Arts, and I'm thrilled to receive you on this auspicious day. This is the unique time of the year when we come together to celebrate the accomplishments of our graduating class, a group who will fulfill their fantasies while fulfilling ours in the future. With some relief on both our parts, I suspect, some trepidation on theirs, an enormous amount of esteem and respect from all of us to all of you, we share this moment to honor the class of 2003. After our illustrious commencement speaker is through, we will have time to relax and delight in intercourse with our notable graduates in celebration less formal. Social intercourse. But firstly, some well-earned thank yous. Everyone here, students and staff and faculty, are immensely grateful to the extraordinary families and friends who have made such extraordinary sacrifices to have these artists continue to mature here. We know that this is a sometimes difficult and often expensive process, and we salute your patience and understanding. I would like to ask that all the moms and dads, spouses, and cohabitators, siblings and other relatives, and trust fund administrators stand so we may applaud you. We are also indebted to the faculty and the chairs of each division, the divisions of the arts. We work so hard as mentors and intellectual and artistic friends, and to the other students who form the creative environment for productive development. I'm particularly grateful to the good staff members who work dutifully and without recognition to assist the students and faculty. They are the best and the most dedicated workers in this university. Let me say how proud we are of all the graduates today. Each is first and foremost an artist, a person of rare talent and intelligence who choose to bless us with their presence for too short a time, with rare exceptions. And who are now being discharged into a cultural environment desperately in need of cogent and persuasive voices to impress the shape of our cultural and political future. To be an artist is a sustained act of great courage. Our artists offer an unapologetic difference to the logic of society that does business as usual, which often means greed, inefficiency, and condoned violence, perfumed with the mist of misogyny. However, the new world can be made different by those who smell and talk and write and imagine and sound differently. Even difference can be inscribed differently. Our artists, because they are Colombians, will create new spontaneities, compound the edges of tension, perform and play lines sustained against mediocrity. These are our students, our artists, now leaving us in their magnificent wake with an imperative to the will of the individual voice, being true to themselves and true to the collective possibility. These artists will continue to argue the case for humanity, for us, inspired, as Plato says, and possessed, out of their minds and into ours. Thank you. I'd now like to welcome the Chair of the Writing Division, Mr. Alan Ziegler.
I wish I'd gotten the memo that orange is the new white. A voice comes to one in the dark. Imagine. With those words, Samuel Beckett opens Company. A voice comes to one in the dark. Imagine.
The life you've signed up for, the life you've been training for. I want to quote two remarks by filmmakers I admire who spoke at Columbia around the time that I became chair. The first is our own faculty member, James Shamus. When Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon was playing in theaters, we held a celebration in Lerner Hall in honor of James's Oscar nominations. And somebody asked him what film was the major turning point in his career. And James said, "I've never thought about a career. I don't believe in them. I just believe in getting up every morning and going to work." Which I think is wonderful advice, because if every day brings new problems and new beginnings, there is still a certain momentum that will carry you forward from one day to the next. And it's possible to develop a habit of beginning from which you can draw the energy to keep on doing it. The second filmmaker I want to quote is Bill Murray, who was on this very stage 3 years ago as our commencement speaker. And he talked then about the artist's life and its perils and difficulties. And if you were there, you'll remember that he was wearing a grass skirt and fake breasts made out of coconut shell. And at the culmination of his rambling and wonderful remarks, he gave the graduating class this piece of advice: don't compare. Don't compare. Do the work because it's the work you want to do, or the direction you most want to travel among the directions open to you. If the work in itself isn't making you happy, isn't satisfying something inside you, then do something else. But don't ask if someone else is going faster or slower than you. It's not a competition. Take your satisfaction from the work you're doing and don't worry about anybody else. Today you're leaving behind one set of beginnings to embark on new ones. And I say this: if you get up each morning or afternoon or evening, if you get up each day and go to work, if you create something fresh each day, if you follow your own path without looking at what others are doing, you will be off on a wonderful journey whose destinations no one can predict. And as you travel, I ask just one thing of each of you. Don't forget this place, Columbia, where so many of your beginnings began. There are some names here, some middle names, and even some first names that I have not seen before. if I mispronounce anyone's name, you have the right to come back next year.
You're the first one. Can you see that? It's locked. Oh.
Nicholas Martin Alfton.
Oh.
Donghoon Beck. Charity Angeles Bustamante. Joseph Manuel Costello. Luisa Morales Blanca. Michelle Lynn Del Mar. Randall Ivan Donovan. Elizabeth Eckstein. Justine Vivian Franco. Marilyn S.Y. Ricardo Alberto Hernandez. Bahati Gwyneth. Simon David Kinberg. Gloria D. King.
You got it without the
Ryan Wesley Layton. Elias Leon Siminian. Stephen Reed Myers. Maria Miranda. Catherine Carlson.
Graduating class of 2003 in the film division.
From the theater division. Special effect, okay. It is truly a difficult task to create works of art that are a meeting of heart and mind. When they work, they move us emotionally and intellectually. They actually change the world. As Nabokov, the famous tennis instructor, once said, they create a tingle of recognition in our spine that will stay with us beyond the fleeting moment. For over a decade, Michael Moore has been creating a thrill throughout the backbone of our culture. The man from Flint, Michigan, the world's most famous Canadian wannabe, Michael Moore emerged from the cold landscape of a deindustrializing nation's symbolic home to make his way to the editor's desk of Mother Jones, and then to the halls and offices of General Motors CEO Roger Moore, to the studios of NBC, to this top-seller nonfiction list of the New York Times, where he replaced in April The Savage Nation with his book, Stupid White Men, onto a Hollywood stage where before an audience of tens of millions, he accepted this year's documentary Oscar for Bowling for Columbus. In a recent article in the artist Frank Stella in the New York Times Magazine, Stella suggested that, quote, most artists would go hunting with Charlton Heston before they alienated a prominent curator, unquote. Michael Moore, on the contrary, went hunting Charlton Heston. Had him in his video sights and let him shoot himself in the foot before vast audiences. In a TV nation, it can be difficult to reach a broad audience with ideas, especially if they run contrary to the soma that oozes 24/7. Michael Moore has been able, through the force of his humor and unrelenting everymanness, to poke through this electronic miasma to make us think, talk, argue about the state of the country and its citizens. Citizens Moore lampoons and loves simultaneously. It is ironic that Michael Moore is not more welcomed by the Patriot Act, because he is perhaps the patriot par excellence on the national stage today. And as I learned 2 weeks ago, he is also the official UCLA water polo team's mascot. Please welcome Citizen Moore.
You couldn't see it, but the parents weren't standing. Did anybody warn them I was the graduation speaker? They worked so hard all these years. Now they're gonna sit through this. It'll be painless. Actually, I'd like to finish my Oscar speech if you don't mind. I'm an odd choice to be a graduation speaker because I dropped out of college and I never went back. And so I don't know if this is a good example of something that you should follow because I went to college for a year to what was called the University of Michigan Flint branch, and you have to say Flint branch because the people who went to Ann Arbor get very upset. You don't make the distinction. So I went there for a year, and then it was one of these commuter campuses where everybody drove to college. And the first day of my sophomore year, I thought I'd go early to try and get a parking space. I couldn't find a parking space, and I drove around and around and around the parking lots for well over an hour. Trying to find a parking space, and after an hour I just said screw it and I dropped out. So that's it. I drove home and told my parents I just dropped out of college, and they said, well, why? And I said, because I couldn't find a parking space. That's not a reason. Yes, it is. And so I haven't been back since. And I really enjoyed listening to all these talks about the different the chairs of the departments here. So many good things were just said to you, and I assume most of you already went through a graduation speech when you got your undergraduate degree, right? And you heard all the things about the future and all that, right? So I'd like to give you the other speech. Some of you have probably been out in the real world long enough, right? By now to know that it was just a pack of lies. In fact, I think that's probably one of the first things you learn is that anything anybody says in any kind of authority should be believed. It's just a non-stop repetition of variations actually of the same lie, and it didn't have to be that way. The world doesn't have to be the way that it seems to be structured. School itself doesn't have to be that way. I've always wondered why this is. That in the first years of our lives, when we're really learning, the first things that we learn, failure is rewarded. Every time you fail, you are nurtured and loved. These are the years before you go to school, right? I mean, and this is when you were born, you could not speak anything. You had no language. You learned a foreign language by the time you went to kindergarten. You had a vocabulary of at least 5,000 words. You could speak in complete sentences. How did you do that? Without going to school, without having a textbook, without having a teacher, without having standardized tests. How were you able to do that? You did it through trial and error. You did it by failing, and then you were rewarded for failing. You went goo goo gaga, and your parents would go, Mama, Dada. And then you'd go goo goo gaga, and they wouldn't get upset. They would just keep going, Mama, Dada. Right? They didn't go, shut up with that goo goo gaga shit. Go to your room. You're in the Blackbird group of slow learners. You'll be on the special bus. You didn't get that. You were nurtured. You were loved. You tried to walk. You got up, you fell down. You got up, you fell down. And they put little things around so you could hang on to things, right? And then you'd fall down. They didn't go, what are you doing on the ground? Get up and walk. You weren't punished for that. You were nurtured. You were loved. Oh, look, you fell down. Oh, that's so cute. Let's help him back up. Oh, he fell down. 4 or 5 years. Man, that's why we were so excited. These kids coming across the stage today, right? They're just so full of life. It's sad when you think about that these little kids are going to be put into an educational system that's going to be like a giant invisible hypodermic needle that goes into their brain at age 5 and slowly numbs them out. I would love to see these little kids that were here today in 12th grade in high school. They'll be shuffling through the hallways, totally, just completely blitzed out to anything that matters. And that is really the sad, sad state of affairs. I mean, it's because our educational system is not about the 3 hours. Reading, writing, and arithmetic, right? And of course, 2 of those don't even begin with R's, so right away. Remember, the Y's they start early and they continue onward. Reading, writing, it's not about the 3 R's, it's about the 3 C's. Consistency, complacency, and conformity. That's the purpose of our school. That's what society needs. It needs you to go out into the world so that you're consistent, so that you don't confront what's going on, so that you'll conform, so that you'll be the thing that's supposed to be going right down the assembly line like everything else, and not mucking up the order of things. That's what we need. We need that in order for the society to function. We need that in order for those in the upper 10% to become wealthy. They need the rest of everyone else not thinking, not asking questions, not standing up for what they believe, not doing what would make them feel good. You know, I was riding up here in the car, they sent one of the students to come get these. He'll be graduating next year. And we were talking about this incredible, uniquely, almost uniquely American way of putting you through this educational system, and then just to add insult to injury, making sure that you're going to be in hock until you're at least 40 years old to pay this thing off, right? It's like, what a genius system. What employer would not want an office full of obedient employees who have to take this job, who have to suffer through this thing because they've got to pay off that loan? It's a genius system. And for everybody else, the ones who are less privileged, who don't get to go to these kinds of institutions, you know, they have to keep that job if they want their health care. You know what, there's no other Western industrialized country where anybody ever stops and thinks, geez, you know, I can't really give up this job because I'll lose our health care. And so how many Americans actually have to stay on the job for that simple reason? Just so that if they get sick, they can get help. It's such a brilliant way to create a society of semi-indentured servants, and to make sure that they won't question what's going on, so that they won't fall off the rail. Stay on that rail. Do what you're supposed to do. Behave this way. You know, this morning we woke up and, you know, we're back on high alert now. We're back on the orange alert, right? This is just another one of these incredibly brilliant ideas by not so stupid white men. I mean, to have the society in this sort of state of siege, the state of fear, you can get just about whatever you want, right? I mean, that was the great part about 1984. And the thing that most people remember from 1984, if you read it in high school or whatever, is Big Brother. But there's that other great part of the book about how the leader needed to keep the people in a perpetual state of fear. The leader needed to convince the people that the enemy was out there. The enemy was everywhere, anywhere, and could strike at any moment. The enemy was going to kill you. And if you would just be willing to give up a certain amount of your civil liberties and your freedoms to the leader would protect you. And what is more important than the desire to live? To be protected so that you will get to have your life. And so the people gave up their freedoms, they gave up their liberties so that they could live. That's the country we live in now. That's what these people are trying to get away with. And it's so amazing to watch the process. And there were some examples given in these talks here in terms of how they're able to pull off this swindle, to create their weapons of mass distraction, so that the public will not think about what the real issues are in these things. And you gotta hand it to them, right? I mean, this is what I really do admire conservatives and right-wingers
I mean, they have the courage of their convictions. They believe so strongly in what they believe in. They will not waver. They will not bend or break. Our side, if you're on side, and I accept that some here aren't, it's perfectly okay. It's actually good in a free society to have a diversity of opinion. But, our side, it's like, who are our leaders? Where's our,
Hi, my name is Tom Daschle. I am the leader of the Democrats in the Senate. And I guess we could have a little capital punishment. And I guess we don't need welfare.
Right? That's how we sound. That's how we behave. It's just so. And their side, they're up at the crack of dawn. Trying to figure out what group they're going to screw today. We never see the crack of dawn. Unless we've been up all night. That's the only time we see the dawn. They're up a good 3 or 4 hours ahead of us. We're just rolling out of bed. They're already down the road. We're looking for a latte. They've already got the next 3 Patriot Acts passed. Everyone, you must have a conservative member in your family, right? There's right? There's a conservative parent or uncle or brother-in-law or someone, right? You know who that person, just think of who that person is. That person in your family never loses their car keys. Number one, right? They're so organized. They've got little hooks inside their back door with a label maker. Here's my Beamer key, here's my SUV key, here's my other SUV key. Our side, this is us. Have you seen my keys? No, I haven't seen your keys. Oh, I can't find you. I gave them to you. No, I gave them to you. That's us. We're just listen to the discourse on the left side of the fence sometimes. Where do you want to go eat tonight? I don't know. Where do you want to go eat? Let's get pizza. No, we had pizza last night. The conservatives are like, get in the car. We're going to Sizzler. It's amazing, isn't it? And we shouldn't be losing because we're the majority. The majority of Americans are actually very liberal. The majority of Americans are conservative. If you look at any of the polls on the issues, the majority of them, if you ask, do you believe abortion should be legal? Almost 70% now believe abortion should be legal. Almost 70% of Americans are pro-choice. Over 80% want stronger environmental laws. 58% of the country believes in labor unions, even though only 10% belong to one. And you just go down the whole list of things, even on the death penalty, the one issue where the American public is conservative, support for the death penalty in the last 5 years has dropped from 80% to 57%. A drop of 23 percentage points in 5 years. Why? Because some students at Northwestern University did a project. They did a project and they found at least 11 people on death row that did not commit that crime. And here's the great thing about your fellow Americans, even the conservative ones, that in their heart, they will never support the execution. Even if they believe in the death penalty in principle, they will not support the execution of an innocent human being. And that's why that support has dropped dramatically once word got out that innocent people are probably being executed. And it will drop below 50%, and we'll see a moratorium on the death penalty in the next few years. I believe that. That's where the country's going. The country believes in these things, and yet the conservatives control the White House, the Senate, the House, the Supreme Court, the airwaves, right? How did that happen? They represent maybe 25% of the country. How is it that they get everything then in a free and democratic society? If you turn on right-wing talk radio, and now just about any of the cable news channels, the Fox News channel, any of these things, they're angry, aren't they? Just angry, just spewing out this bile, this hatred, this, it doesn't matter where you turn on the dial, and they're screaming, and I'm thinking, why are they angry? They control everything. No, seriously, can you imagine if we had the White House, the House, the Senate, the Supreme Court, everything was being passed the way we wanted? If we were like given a TV or a radio show, we just every day going, I hate everything that's going on. You know, it's pathological, isn't it? It's just so bizarre. They get all this, and yet they're not the majority of the country. How did this happen? How did this happen? It happened because, as the chair of the theater department said, the citizens forgot to keep their mouths open. It happened because the people decided that, well, you can't do anything about it. What's the point? You can't fight City Hall. Why beat your head against the wall? You know, one thing that I've thought about a lot in my life is the importance of the individual and how one person really can make a difference. And that most of the changes, most of the great things that have happened throughout the history of the world have happened because one or two people did something. Just got up and did something. Think about it. I mean, seriously. A woman takes her seat at the front of the bus in Montgomery, Alabama on December 1st, 1955, a date that should be a national holiday in this country. And she refuses to get up because she's told to get up. She's told to go to the back of the bus because she's black. And the law says that you have to. And she refuses. And look what happened. One woman refuses to get up. And look what happened. Boom! Incredible. I mean, pick anything in history. Pick JC and his 12 fishing guys. That's all that was. I mean, it was just 12 guys with a fishing pole. Look what happened. Boom! Marx and Engels. That's what they were just two old guys just sitting around a fire in London in the 1800s trying to keep their hands warm, talking shit to each other. That's all that was. Yeah, that's good. Write that down. Look what happened. Boom! So many examples, for good and for evil, happened because a few people, the minority, decided to do something. You can't sit around and say, well, you know, everybody here is apathetic, or people don't get involved, or people don't vote. And of course they don't. People have always been apathetic. People have never gotten involved. The revolution in this country was only supported by 25% of the colonists. Another 25% supported the Brits, and the other half were, I don't know, hanging out with Daniel Boone or something. You know, I mean, that's how this country was founded. It always starts with a small group of people. But of course, the way things are structured, it's structured to tell you every day, day in and day out, that one person doesn't make it. That you really can't make a difference. And you better go along to get along. And you better not say anything because you've got these responsibilities or these loans to pay off or this thing to take care of or whatever. It's really, it's a sad state of affairs that so many people buy into this. So, for those of you in this particular school who are going to be filmmakers, and I was watching this everyone wanted to get through the film, and as each, for instance, the film school over here, as each of you walk up here, I just thought, wow, there could be like 70 great films that we're going to see sometime in the next few years or decade or whatever, right? Wouldn't that be great? She's going to make something I want to see. I don't even know who she is. He's going to make something that I'm going to want to, I'll sit and watch it twice. The possibility of this, the hope of this, right? Because when's the last time you saw a good movie? I mean, I feel every time I set out to make a movie, my first thought is, I want to make something I can go see. Because I'm sick and tired of going to these movies. I mean, seriously, in the last decade, have you seen a great film? Maybe one, maybe two, maybe. This art form has been so bastardized, has been just, I mean, it's at the point of ruin. Our hope really is you. I know that sounds like some graduation type thing. I'm only saying it because I want to see a good movie. I know it'll happen. It's got to happen, right? It's one of our few great indigenous art forms. No offense to the Lumiere brothers, but essentially film and jazz. You know, that's we haven't offered the world a lot in the sense of culture, but we've done these two things, and it's so important that it be preserved and it be celebrated, and that you give people to go to the movies, to walk out of there with that sense of talking about it and just being so energized by it. I mean, it's a rare day that happens. To the writers over here, the same goes for you. You all have chosen various disciplines that are going to bring you, at least for a while, a life of misery. Utter misery. And your poor parents are thinking this too, but they don't want to say it. It's not because they want you out of the house or, you know, they're tired of paying the bills or whatever. They really want what's best for you, but it's like, we know we all live in a society that doesn't value this and that doesn't reward it. But you see, without you, as your chair has all said in various ways, you know, without you, we're really doomed. Because who's going to ask the questions? Who's going to hold the mirror up to society? Who's going to say to people, this is worth thinking about? Who's going to juice up and jack up what's inside every human brain in this country if it's not you? You know, I'm so proud of you that you've chosen these professions to do these things because you've done it at great sacrifice. You will not succeed in the way that college is meant for you to succeed, the way the world is set up for you to succeed. But if you're not out there expressing yourselves through your art, helping make the society a society that cares about something other than what's on the Fox News channel or the other Fox channel, where are we going to end up? Where are we going to be? You know, I thought that was so incredible how you went through each of your 24 students and said something about each of their works and their art. I wanted to see all of it. That was so incredible and so so endearing. It was really a wonderful thing. The others have like 70 students. They can't. He gets off easy because he's only got a couple dozen. Most of their works are so frightening. How could he not? But I don't. You know, I'm not a cynic, and I have this incredible optimism. I believe that things can get better. I believe that the American people will rise up and reclaim their country and take it out of the hands of those who would make us something other than what we all thought we should be. I believe that will happen. I believe that if given some sense of hope and if stimulated in some way, perhaps by the art that you do, it will allow someone to walk out of a theater, or walk out of an exhibition, or put down a book of poems and say, wow, yeah, geez, I hadn't thought of it that way before. I'd like to close by actually reading a poem from someone who went to Columbia. I don't know if he actually graduated. Probably all the better. His name was Langston Hughes. The poem is called Let America Be America Again. Let America be America again. Let it be the dream it used to be. Let it be the pioneer on the plain, seeking a home where he himself is free. America never was America to me. Let America be the dream that dreamers dream. Let it be that great strong land of love, where never kings connive nor tyrants scheme, that any man be crushed by one above. It was never America to me. Oh, let my land be a land where liberty is crowned with no false patriotic wreath, but opportunity is real and life is free. Equality is in the air we breathe. There's never been equality for me, nor freedom in this homeland of the free. Say, who are you that mumbles in the dark? And who are you that draws your veil across the stars? I am the poor white, fooled and pushed around. I am the Negro bearing slavery's scars. I am the red man driven from the land. I am the immigrant clutching the hope I seek and finding only the same old stupid plan of dog eat dog, of mighty crush the weak. I am the young man full of strength and hope, tangled in that ancient endless chain of profit, power, gain, of grab the land, of grab the gold, of grab the ways of satisfying need, of work the men, of take the pay, of owning everything for one's own greed. I am the farmer, bondsman to the soil. I am the worker, sold to the machine. I am the Negro, servant to you all. I am the people, humble, hungry, mean, beaten, yet today, oh pioneers, hungry yet today, despite the dream. I am the man who never got ahead, the poorest worker bartered through the years. Yet I'm the one who dreamt our basic dream in the old world while still a serf of kings, who dreamt a dream so strong, so brave, so true, that even yet its mighty daring signs in every brick and stone, in every furrow turn, that's made America the land it has become. Oh, I'm the man who sailed those early seas in search of what I meant to be my home. For I'm the one who left dark Ireland's shores, and Poland's plain, and England's grassy lea. And torn from black Africa's strand, I came to build a homeland of the free. The free? Who said the free? Not me. Surely not me. The millions on relief today? The millions shot down when we strike? The millions who have nothing for our pay? For all the dreams we've dreamed and all the songs we've sung and all the hopes we've held and all the flags we've hung? The millions who have nothing for our pay except the dream that's almost dead today. Oh, let America be America again. The land that never has been yet, and yet must be. The land where every man is free. The land that's mine, the poor man's, Indians, Negroes, me. Who made America? Whose sweat and blood? Whose faith and pain? Whose hand at the foundry? Whose plow in the rain must bring back our mighty dream again? Sure, call me an ugly name, you choose. The steel of freedom does not stain. From those who live like leeches on the people's lives, we must take back our land again. America, oh yes, I say it plain, America never was America to me. And yet I swear this oath, America will be. Out of the wreck and ruin of our gangster death, the rape and rot of graft and stealth and lies, we the people must redeem the land, the mines, the plants, the rivers, the mountains, and the endless plain, all the stretch of these great green states, and make America again. Thank you very much.
course. Mm-hmm. That must be coming. Yeah. Yep. Well, wasn't through the other one, was it? I have a 20. I bet there's one coming up here. Yeah. So what if I was the kind of person that looked at you when they were driving? Yeah. I'd have to smack you. Like this. Yeah. Well, these aren't as tight. No, they aren't. What is this? Soda Springs Trail. Tight curves, but interesting. Mm-hmm. Good. Get some of the ocean in there. Okay. Hey, look here. Stand right here. You see all the... Oh, yeah. Go on this side. A little drama. Yeah. Sacred seaweed. Don't let me fall down. Julia Pfeiffer State Park. Yes, it is. And your Big Sur. This is where people get mugged. Yeah, but there's no city around. Oh, wow. Where's an oak? Where's that? It says, oh, everything new. We're ready. Okay, it's going. All right. It's pretty in here. We're in Big Sur. Yes, we are. We're driving through the sequoias. Oops. These aren't sequoias. Oh, are they? What are they? Oh, redwoods. These are, isn't that the same thing? Redwood and sequoia? No. No. Okay. We're not very good tour guides. No, we're not. Here we go again.